and welcome in today's video. Today we're going to talk about how to write a line graph. But the question is, where can I find a line graph? Usually this question is in IELTS, especially Task 1 Academic. If you want to go for the IELTS exam, you're going to be asked to write a line graph or pie chart or bar chart or whatever, but the first task is going to be related to how to describe an information. If you want to describe information, you have to go through some steps. So let's just get started immediately. Let's have a just overview of what we're going to do in this video today. So first of all, in order to write a line graph, you have to go through 5 steps, 5 main steps. Number 1, analyze the question. 2, identify the main features. 3, write an introduction and then an overview, and then write the details paragraphs. Now it could be another overview or main information that you need to know about the line graph is that you have to write 4 paragraphs: the introduction, overview, and 1 paragraph for the first main feature and 1 paragraph for the second main feature. But it could be less than that. It could be 3 paragraphs if you write the introduction and the overview together in 1 paragraph. But ideally, your essay should have 4 paragraphs. Now we're going to go through the steps, but first let's just have a look at one example or one question, and then we're going to move analyzing the question and going all over these steps. Let's have a look at the exam question first. The exam is going to be just like this. The graph below shows radio and television audiences through the day in 1992. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. And then you're going to be given like this line graph. It has got a title. So the main things that you need to look at is the title here. See radio and television audiences in UK, October and December 1992. I'm trying to clarify the line graph for you. And then we have 2 lines. One of them is about television and the other one is about radio. If we look at the bottom here, you'll find the timeline. Okay, so from 6 to 6, from 6 in the morning till 6 in the evening. Okay, so and here you've got the percentage of UK population over 4 years old, from 0 to 50%. So you're going to deal here with percentages. And there is a common mistake. Please notice that most of the students deal with these numbers as percentages, but it's not always percentages. Sometimes it's dollars, sometimes millions, sometimes it's something different. Please do read what is this about, okay? And write time of day or night. And this is and this is the percentage of the population, mainly UK population. So now this is the question. What if you have this question in the exam? What is the first step to do? Now this first step, you don't have to repeat it because we're going to analyze the question together and try to understand the question, because the question doesn't change. You see what I mean? So we are going to analyze the question, try to understand what is really required in this question. Now, first of all, to analyze the question, many students are reluctant to spend time on step number 1 and 2 as they want to spend as much of the 20 minutes allowed for the essay as possible actually writing it. However, it's essential that you do them as they are the key to writing high-scoring IELTS line graph essay. You have to spend some time understanding the questions, trying to understand the line graph, see what is required. Without it, you won't be able to get high score either in the exam or in the IELTS. So you have to be careful with this. I'm going to help you with analyzing the question, but in the next step, understanding and analyzing the line graph itself, You have to spend some time before you start writing, and I'll mention that why. Okay, now every question consists of sentence number one, a brief description of the graphic, and sentence number two is the instructions, and the graphic, chart, graph, table, etc. So this is usually the question. We have a brief description of the graphic, which is, for example, if we're going to go back again to the question, the graph below shows radio and television audiences through the day in 1992. So this is a brief description of the line graph. So this is what you need to know about the question. So this is step number one. And in step number two, you need to know the instructions. What is required? What do they tell you? Okay, and then it's written whether it's chart, graph, or table. In sentence two, in the question, we're talking about the question, not your introduction, tells you what you have to do. You must do three things in the question. Number one, select the main feature. Two, write about, again, the main features. And then three, compare the main features. Again, the question is asking you this: select the main features, write about the main features, and compare the main features. Let's have a look back at the question. Here's the question: summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main feature. And so you have to select and report and make comparison where relevant. It's all about the main features. Now, if you know that you're going to write about main features and you understand this step, you have to consider this notice. All three tasks refer to the main features of the graphic. You don't have to write about everything. Just pick up or pick out 2 or 3 key features and you'll have plenty to write about. And I'll stop at this point because I have to really highlight it. Because most of the students find it difficult to analyze the line graph and they go describing the line graph mechanically from the beginning till the end. And this is not going to help you to get high score at all. In this case, you're not going to get more than 6 band in IELTS. Maximum 5.5 or 6 bands if you describe them mechanically, and maybe it might go far less. So please be careful. Do not describe every single thing in the line graph. You have to be able to analyze and select the main features, and maybe this is going to be covered in a different video. Now, step 2, identifying the main features in this question. The graphic in IELTS line graph question should not be difficult to interpret. Each question has been created to test your language skills, not your mathematics ability. And I'm writing these notes because it's based on my experience. The students usually are really, I don't know, they think it's something really impossible to do it, to analyze the main features. Remember, we're not asking you to repair a car. You are going just to analyze the line graph simply by looking at, for example, the highest point or the lowest point. So it's not really a difficult step to ignore it, let's say. Yet a lot of students ignore it. I don't know why. But please do not ignore it. It's not something difficult to be done. Okay, so now these questions are really useful for you if you'd like to ask yourself these questions to understand or try to find out the main features. Do have a screenshot of these questions or write them down. Whenever you have a line graph, you need to practice it. Just go over these questions and try to read them, try to figure out the question or the main features of this line graph. It could be like, what information do the two axes give? What are the units of measurements? Units of measurements is usually, for example, the percentages. Could be millions. It could be etc. What are the period of time? What are the time periods? Is it within 1 year, 2 months, 3 months? What is it? What can you learn from the title and any labels? Look at the title. Look at the lines. Which one is which? Try to understand this to be able to identify the main features. What's the most obvious trend? So which one is going mostly up or mostly going down? It's also something you need to think about. Are there any notable similarities? Are there any notable similarities? Try to find out the similarities. Try to find out the differences. Try to compare in order to find the main features. Now we're going to have a look at it again. Now think about it for 1 minute. Pause the video. Think about these questions and think about the main features in this line graph. Now, having thought about your main features, let's compare them now here with these main features. There are two main features or trends in this line graph. Main feature number 1, the peak time for TV audiences is in the evening, 8 p.m. Let's have a look at it again. See, 8 p.m. So this is noon. This is for TV. Let's have a look at the TV. Now this is television. Okay, this is 8. Okay, midnight p.m. and this is the peak. Okay, so this is the most. As you can see, this is one of the key features. Let's have a look at main feature number 2. The peak time for radio audiences is in the morning, 8 a.m. Let's have a look at it. So this is the radio, and this is 8 a.m. Okay, and this is the peak. Here, it's in the morning. Okay, so in this time, we're just trying to figure out the main features. Now we could have found two main features. Now let's have a look at the rest. How to write the general trend. So the general trend you select will be the starting point for your essay. So this is some general notes. Once you get the main features and you know them, so it's going to be the starting point for your essay. Then go on to add more detail, which is in the detailed paragraph, with just 20 minutes allowed for task 1 and requirements of only 150 words. You won't be able to include many details. Remember that. It's just 150 words. You don't have to write everything. You cannot write everything. If you write everything, you're going to go to 300 words. Or maybe more than 200 words. If you go more or you exceeded the 150 words, you will get minus, yes. So be careful with this. Then we're going to write now the introduction. In the introduction, you should simply paraphrase the question. That is, say the same thing in a different way. You can do that, or you can do this by using synonyms and changing the sentence structure. Let's have a look. Just an example. In the question, you will have this sentence. The graph below shows radio and television audiences through the day in 1992. And then in the introduction, we write, the line graph illustrates, instead of shows, illustrates the proportion of people in the UK instead of audiences who watched TV, giving a bit more details, and listened to the radio over 24 hours instead of saying a day or the day, from October to December 1992. So we added much more details and we had some synonyms. For example, illustrates instead of shows, and instead of saying just audience, we said the proportion, which means the number of people in the UK, okay, who watch TV and listen to the radio over 24 hours instead of saying the day. As you can see, simply we're paraphrasing. I'm going to add more videos on how to paraphrase the question. But this is just, I'm telling you the steps. So step number one, we have to analyze the question and we have analyzed together. And then we have to find out the main features. After that, you have to start with writing the introduction. And in the introduction, all you need to do is you have to summarize the question or the first sentence. Now we're moving to step number 4. Step number 4 is you're going to write an overview. Overview is the general trend of usually the line graph. Let's have a look. In this stage, you should report the main features. Give only general information. Don't mention numbers yet. I mean by numbers, but the percentages. Don't mention the percentages yet in this stage. All you have to do is to mention the general trend or generally the main features. The details comes later in the essay. You should also make any clear comparisons you spot. Now remember the main features. Do you remember the main features that we found in this line graph? Let's have a look at them and remember them. We said the main feature of the peak time for TV audiences is in the evening at 8 p.m. What do you do in the introduction or in the paragraph? Again, I'm telling you, this overview could be embedded within the introduction or could be separate. So whichever you choose is possible. Overall, significantly greater percentage of the TV audience watched in the evening, while radio had the most listeners in the morning. So it's the same idea, but we've changed it into a sentence, adding more details. So the peak time for TV audiences, we set a significantly greater percentage. Okay, now we're describing the percentage. Generally, of course, the most, okay, of the TV audience watched in the evening, while the radio, now we're talking about the other line, had the most listeners in the morning. Now this is feature number 1. And in feature number 2, the peak time for radio audiences is in the morning 8 a.m. You can say over the course of each day and for most of the day and night, more people watch TV than listened to the radio. So you were changing the main feature into this sentence. You can have just stop the video or pause the video, look at the line graph again and see how we wrote these two sentences. Now, what are the comparison features in the sentences that we wrote? We've written these two sentences. Let's look at them. Overall, significantly greater. So you must have some comparison features like greater percentage of the TV audience watched in the evening, while, which means on the other side of the argument or of the line, radio had the most is for superlative listeners in the morning. Over the course of the day or most of the day, see most, okay, more people, that's more comparison structure. People watch TV than listen to the radio. Okay, so these are some comparison features that you have to use when you're writing an overview. Okay, so that's almost everything about the first 4 steps. More details are going to be in a different video on how to summarize, like some methods on how to summarize the first sentence in the question and how to write detailed paragraph. I prefer it to be in a different video because it's going to take a longer time. That's all for today. Thank you for watching and bye.